Welcome to Tangential Soup, a weekly podcast discussing life in Australia, technology, food, fitness, and the like, hosted by myself, David Caddy, Melburnian, independent developer and tea enthusiast, as well as my good childhood friend, Alexander Carr, Sydney Sider, slave to the man, karate practitioner, and lover of adventure. This week we talk about share market downs and bee acupuncture. So, Alex, it's been a few weeks now, so I thought we should do a bit of an update on the ASX share market trading game and how well that we are doing. Sort of to spruik just what champions we are at predicting the market.
Yes, well, we're certainly something at predicting the market. I don't know if we would necessarily be classified as champions by anybody.
Unless we were, trying to lose money.
That's actually a good point. I mean, if we were trying to short the market, then we'd be doing really well.
Exactly.
Me especially. I mean, you're actually...
Oh, you've caught up a little bit. You were down to 43,000 at some point.
I was, yeah.
And now you're back at 44. That's good. I'm 45.
The good thing is I seem to have... I've hit my bottom. I'm pretty steadily at 44.
You can't get any worse. Have you made any moves in recent times?
No, I haven't, honestly. I didn't do any trading beyond my initial purchases.
Okay.
And they weren't very good initial purchases.
See, I did quite a bit, and I was actually over 50 for a tiny bit, but then everything just went way down. I think that's across the board, like most of the market has gone down.
It has, yeah.
And as such, I've kind of just sat on everything in the hope that they'll come back up to where they were when I bought them.
Yeah, always a difficult thing to hope for.
Lost 1,500 on Oracobra.
Oh yeah, no, that's not quite as bad as mine. So I made some pretty bad moves. Kind of two of the bigger losers in the share market at the moment have been Retail Food Group, which was hit by some terrible press, really bad quarterly results, half yearly results rather, and basically like news articles about how they mistreat all their franchisees and they don't pay employees properly and so on and so forth. So their share price has gone from, even half a year ago now, it was, let's just take a look at their price chart. Yeah, so half a year ago not even half a year ago, 4 months ago in December, they were trading at about $4.30. Retail Food Group being the company to do Gloria Jeans, and now they've dropped down to 89 cents.
It's not just Gloria Jeans though. It's Gloria Jeans, Brumby's Bakery, Donut King.
Whole group of things.
Yeah, Michelle's Patisserie, A Grind. There's a whole bunch of them. Whole bunch of franchises.
There are.
It's quite a big portfolio. I'm surprised that they've tanked as much as they have. Do they just have like no assets?
Investors don't like bad press. That's one thing that's holding them back. And I think another thing was they've had to close a whole bunch of shops or a whole bunch of franchises, which I think is another part of the problem.
I know a lot of Brumbies have disappeared in recent times.
Yeah. And I mean, really, like how many Donut Kings are there?
That's true. They're shrinking as well.
And Gloria Jeans.
Still see a lot of Gloria Jeans coffees around the place though, at least in Melbourne.
What you usually see with these companies with this kind of thing, where they've got a large portfolio of things, but a lot of it's failing, is there'll be a management restructure really soon. They'll sell off all the bad parts of the business, and then they'll try to kind of rejig their company into something better.
And that may or may not work. It could be too late.
It's going to be a long road to recovery, especially with all the bad press. Like, they're not going to be able to grow their business because they've had such bad press, and no one's going to want to be no one's going to want any of their companies anymore.
It's a bit like Donut Time. Have you read about that or heard about that?
No.
You know that franchise that's just basically a donut shop, Donut Time?
Oh, yes, I do know Donut Time. Yes, yep.
I could have sworn that you bought something from there at one point.
I did,
I
I
was
did.
up there with you. Anyway, they've just been running on fumes for like the last few months, and the ownership has changed hands, and they're going to close like more than half the stores, I think, in a desperate bid to try and get back on track. They just expanded too quickly, it sounds like.
So they're a Are they publicly listed company?
I don't think they are. I think they were private.
Right.
But yeah, they had a lot of locations.
Well, they did. I mean, there are several around Sydney that I kind of saw pop up. But you're right, they all popped up in the last couple of years.
Yes, and so many of the employees haven't been paid for like the last month's work and what have you. And just being locked out of the stores because the leases haven't been paid and all this sort of thing.
Oh,
Pretty
my
dodgy.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I don't know where the companies come from, because it looks like they've got a UK segment of the business.
Do they? I didn't know that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So if you see far fewer of them around the place, then that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were good donuts. Are you a fan of?
They were good. They weren't amazing. Like, there's better places in Melbourne at least to get donuts, but they were decent.
Okay.
They were better than your stock standard donuts. So and they were probably cheaper than those other ones that I'm saying that are better. So probably value wise, they were in that right sort of spot. They always seem fairly popular.
Well, that's the thing. I remember when they opened up, like people queuing up to get to their store.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's always a good sign, right? But I guess it all just depends on the cost to run the store and the location and how kind of much recurring traffic they're going to get. That's, I suppose, the big one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You should always be careful of these companies that rise too fast.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, where would you get your donuts from, though? Because the only place literally that I know to get donuts would be either Donut Time or there's Krispy Kreme. Do they even still exist?
Krispy Kreme still exists.
I only see them at the airport.
They are way too sweet for me, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, the texture is really good. They are light and fluffy, but just the sweetness is kind of a little bit too much for me.
If you have 2 Krispy Kreme donuts, like for me at least, I feel like I'm going to vomit.
Yeah. For me, it's probably just one, but yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like Walker's Donuts, but I don't know. I don't think that's a franchise. That might only be literally a single store here in Melbourne, but it may not be. But I've only seen one. It's like across from Flinders Street Station. Excellent donuts.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know if Bread Top do donuts, but they do other sweet pastry things that I quite like. They're chocolate horns and things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really go to that. It's kind of like the Asian style of bread,
Yes.
right? The
Yeah.
sweet bread. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see how these companies kind of go up and go down. Because I've got to say, I mean, I try to pay more attention to this kind of stuff now, but it seems to me that competition is really tight for all segments of the market now.
Mm.
And you see a lot of these bigger companies kind of failing where maybe they weren't 10 years ago.
Yeah, but you still think, like, for freshly produced goods, there'd be a decent market, but maybe they're oversaturating themselves a little bit.
Perhaps they are. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really comment. There are a lot of places where you can get nice desserts, though.
There are.
And I mean, the cafe scene has also lifted its game in Australia as well. At least it certainly has in Sydney. If you want to go out for a nice sweet thing, you can always go to a nice cafe.
That's true. Have you had those, like, little cheese tart things pop up? I can't remember the name of them.
The cheesecake things?
No, like little
Uncle
cheese
Tetsu's?
tarts. Like, I don't know what they're called. Sort of Asian something.
Yeah, it's like a cheesecake type. You get them from cheesecake type places.
Hokkaido baked cheese tart?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I had a really nice matcha flavored one the other day, actually. Well, not
Okay.
the day, a little while ago. From this new place called Uncle Tetsu's. But yes, they're around Sydney as well.
That the yellow branded one?
What was the brand you said again?
Specifically, Hokkaido?
Hokkaido.
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 Baked cheese tart? Might only
That's
be
also-
in Victoria then, but like 3 or 4 of them like popped up in like next to no time.
Really?
Mm.
You know, it's funny. I searched Hokkaido, and it turns out it's an island in Japan.
There you go. Well, that's where the name comes from then.
I should definitely know where they are because there's one right next door to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so there are some in Sydney.
there are some in Sydney. Yeah, there's 3 restaurant locations, but I don't believe I've ever had any. But you're saying that's one of your new favorites, is it?
There's like 15 in Australia wide. No, I had one. It's kind of good, kind of weird. It's not really my thing. I wouldn't say I'd be rushing back, but it's interesting.
I can't do cheesecake, and these cheese tarts are basically the same thing as cheesecake. I just find it so incredibly rich that it just makes me feel a bit ill.
No, but they're even cheesier than cheesecake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely not. But they are sweet, right?
Well, the pastry's sweet, but then the filling is more cheesy than sweet. Like, yeah, it's just probably slightly too savory, I suppose, in a sense. But yeah, it is a dessert. It's weird. You should have a small bite of one at some point.
Okay. If I see one lying on the ground, I'll just
Yes.
as long as I don't have to pay for it myself. Okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
So, what do you think about bee acupuncture, Alex? Gonna rush out and get this?
No.
Studies suggest that there is potentially maybe a small potential link to helping arthritis and a few other ailments. Maybe, asterisk.
Okay, so I think that if you're getting medical treatment, that for something, basically, if you're getting medical treatment for something that has another cure that is medically proven, but your cure is backed by studies that say possibly, and it's probably one study, and it probably had like 6 people in it, and of those 6 people, 5 of those people probably lied. I don't really think that, you should be doing that in any way. And I mean, like bee stings, it's poison to your body, right?
Yes. And so for people that aren't familiar with this, the name is like what it sounds. You take a bee, you put it near the skin with a pair of tweezers, and it stings the patient, and you just repeat, I guess, until sometime. The bees die, of course. Well, in the case of this one woman, which is why we're talking about this, woman in, where was this? Spain? In Spain, yes, has sadly died from this after an allergic reaction. Which was always a potential problem with this, and the fact that many practitioners that administer this weird traditional sort of Korean and Chinese treatment don't have any sort of ability to deal with allergic reactions. They don't have EpiPens. They're not trained at all in that regard. God. So they're just, grabbing a bunch of bees, getting them to sting people and charging money for it, I guess. With no evidence whatsoever to say that this does anything except pain.
It's stupidity at its zenith, David. It's ridiculous. It's just all these alternative medicines are absolutely stupid.
It is, but this one...
They're not backed by science in any way.
This one is just even more insane than many of them. I think Gwyneth Paltrow endorses this as well.
Gwyneth Paltrow endorses a lot of stupid things, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But I mean, let's just for a second ignore the bees, ignore the stupid bee acupuncture, and okay, first of all, take out the bees, just acupuncture. Equally stupid, equally lacking any real evidence that it works in any real way.
And it is also kind of risky in the sense that many acupuncture practitioners don't use sterile practices.
Yes. Yep. So dangerous for that reason. And like going even more mainstream. Let's talk about what I believe is the third kind of most visited doctor in Australia. First, you would have a medical doctor. Second, you've got a dentist. Third is a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. Chiropractic practices are not backed by any evidence at all. It was made up by some guy in like the 1800s or something who just decided it felt good to crack someone's back. And then, but it's one of those things that you can kind of, like, it makes sense if you don't kind of look into it very much. Because you think, right, like I've got tense muscles, and what they're doing is they're kind of relieving the stress in those muscles by doing cracking things, and it just it makes sense on that basic level to you, because you think, when I stretch and I kind of pop, I feel a lot better. So it must be that this chiropractor knows what's happening. But there's no evidence behind it.
No, well, yeah, people come out of it and they say they feel better, and they probably do because they are doing something. Like you say, they're loosening the muscles. They're probably stretching you in ways that you don't necessarily always stretch in. That are probably not bad for you in a sense. But you're right. I wouldn't say all of it. There is some evidence for maybe like 20% of what they do for minor benefit. And the rest of it is just hocus pocus.
Yeah.
But it is better than a lot of alternate medicine because at least there's no real negative side effects, really.
Uh, yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what the negative side effects are of chiropractic.
I
If you
mean,
say so, then I believe you.
there are some like extreme ones that will like really I don't know, hyperextend things and really stretch things, which can do permanent damage. But if you're talking about your regular mainstream chiropractors, the extent of what they do won't cause any damage
Mm-hmm.
unless somehow you have some injury that hasn't been looked after properly and they think they can fix it. Maybe. But if you're just going in there for a bit of a bad back or what have you, they're not going to make the situation worse.
Apart from stealing your money.
Well, yes, no, you're going to be financially worse off and not really going to be better off in health terms. Well, not at all. But at least you're not going to be made worse. Whereas so many of these other things have the potential to kill you or, well, I guess that's at the end of the day. They have the potential to kill you, whether it's, you know, airy-fairy treatments for cancer, of which there are a million of them.
Oh my god, yes.
And I know these people are desperate and sometimes modern medicine has failed them, but quite often, these charlatans are spruiking this product and they think, okay, well, sounds like a good way to go. And they might even, say they've got some studies and things that have proven this, that, or the other thing. But even if there have been studies, like you say, they've not been any sort of rigor put into it. And it's really, really sad. It's so much worse in the US than here, at least, which is something. But yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, this whole alternate medicine realm.
It is, yeah.
The government really should step in and crack down harder, is my
They
feeling.
they do. I think I read an article. I don't remember what the specifics were, but there have been bans put on the teaching of homeopathy in certain universities around Victoria,
Hmm.
which is good because I mean that's when it comes to quacky medicine, that's so high up there.
Oh, yeah, homeopathy, it's number one with a bullet.
Yeah, and this idea that you can kind of the more you dilute a substance, the more powerful it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's disgusting to think about.
It's so bad, when people have, I don't know, flus and things, and they take these things that are meant to help them, and then, small children or the elderly, and they just die when they could have gone to a hospital and been fine. It is crazy.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's just boils my blood to think about it, really. But I mean, the thing is as well, like, I don't know about you, but I've been to a chiropractor before because if you don't know any better, chiropractors are back doctors. I mean, who in your childhood would you think to go to if you had a back problem? Really?
Chiropractor.
Exactly.
Especially because my dad had a bad back for a fair while, and he would often go to see his chiropractor, Tim, I want to say, in Maryborough. Always said that he worked magic. So it's like,
Well,
well, it must work, right?
that's my parents still go to, or my dad at least still goes to a chiropractor because he believes exactly the same thing. But and like you as a normal person, when you're being told that chiropractic works, why would you investigate it? Like in the same way that you wouldn't investigate going to your doctor and kind of a remedy that your doctor had given you, why would you investigate chiropractic? Because there isn't really anything else that a common person would know about going to have your back fixed.
No.
I mean, what you should really be doing is seeing either a physio or a sports therapist. But
yeah.
How would you know that? You wouldn't.
No.
It's just the fact of it. And it's a sad situation, but they've just got the best marketing, I guess.
They do. Well, they're firmly entrenched.
They are, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, to any of our listeners, do your research before you go to a chiropractor, and you'll find out that there is no evidence-based medicine really behind what they do, beyond maybe having a nice massage.
Yes. And slightly in a different realm, something I heard the other day, which is somewhat disturbing as well. Tattoo removalists aren't regulated.
Oh, so we're talking about laser tattoo removal, are we?
Yes. In Australia, in some states you have to say that you know how to work the machine, which can be as little as like a half an hour tutorial from the device manufacturer, and then you're good to go, right? You've got this super powerful laser, and you just start burning people's skin with it.
Wow.
And there are so many cases of just skin being melted off and all this sort of awful
Oh my
things.
god.
So if you have a tattoo that you want to get removed, really seriously do your research and don't just go to the cheapest person. Because there are some cheap ones out there, but the reason is they're not qualified to do anything.
That's horrible. I mean, I don't really know what kind of qualifications tattooists have to have, though.
Well, that is also a thing, right? In some states, they are kind of regulated, like to a decent level, and some not so much. I can't remember which state it is. But you're right. In some states, it's basically the same sort of situation. So, also, yes, either getting or removing a tattoo, do your research because there are some dodgy people out there doing
And
it.
with getting a tattoo, from what I understand, you should pay top dollar every time because you always get what you pay for, whether it's the quality of the artist, because it matters how much they push the pen in as well, or else your tattoo is unevenly kind of distributed and it doesn't spread right. And you've got to know where to tattoo as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are some places on your body that you shouldn't have a tattoo because if there isn't kind of fat sitting underneath it, then it doesn't stay on your skin. It just it gets removed.
And also just from the general hygiene of the tattooist and the operation as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even if they're a really good artist and they do a good job, doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing it the way that it should be done from a health perspective.
Oh, absolutely. If I ever had a tattoo and I saw anything else other than my needle coming out of a fresh packet, I'd
Mm.
probably be quite disturbed.
Yes. So, yes, just be wary of all these things. Go see an actual doctor.
Yes. Although, having said that, I mean, if you are a chiropractor,
They sometimes recommend you to, yeah. You are an actual doctor, yeah.
you are an
You've
actual
got the
doctor.
doctorate. Go see a GP and push them because sometimes they're not real great either. But if they start recommend you to a chiropractor or some alternative medicine, go see a different one.
Yeah. And, like, it's funny because have you ever been to a doctor and they've recommended alternative medicine? Because I went to a doctor once and, yeah, she said, I don't remember what the situation was, but she was talking about, like, drawing a splinter out with a potato or something like that, which I've heard of. But,
Okay.
I mean, should I be putting a potato on my skin? It doesn't sound very sanitary.
It's weird. I mean, I haven't heard that one before. There could be some science behind it, but it does sound a bit wives' tale-y, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Oh dear. Yes, I heard the other day. Not that I've been to the doctor much myself to have that happen, but I heard on a podcast not too long ago that someone's son was, oh, yeah, his son went to his mother to the doctor for something, and the doctor said, "Oh, take this vitamin supplement or whatever, and it'll help the kid get over this cold or whatever." And the dad is like this doctor, right? Um, or the surgeon, and he looks at the thing as like, this is basically just sugar tablets. Why the hell are they saying to take this? Is it just to make you feel better? Is not? It's doing absolutely nothing. Why did the doctor tell you to go get this? Yeah,
I've heard of doctors because a lot of patients nowadays they
demand
want
things. Yeah,
they want something to take. So a lot of doctors will either prescribe what do you call it when it's not actual medicine, like the sugar pills,
placebo.
placebos. Yeah. So perhaps the doctors, it's probably a crappy doctor because they shouldn't be recommending you buy expensive vitamins. But yeah, it's possibly he was just recommending a placebo so that these people would keep coming back. But I don't think there's any evidence really for anything to fix a cold, other than I remember hearing that zinc is has been shown to perhaps marginally reduce the time that you're sick with a cold.
Yes, it's Well, colds and things. It's like you really just need to stay warm and hydrated and let it pass. There's not much else you can do.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is between those people that insist that they want something. Sure, give them something that's not going to hurt them and isn't actually, antibiotics or whatever, because you've got to conserve that for the real serious gear.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But then there's some doctors that seem like that's just their practice now. Is if someone comes in with a cold, you give them this, and like they're not dealing with the people that are pushy. This is just their general thing now. And I think that's a bit negligent.
Was this in Australia or in the US?
No, it was in the US.
Because I think in the US, they, like, doctors have friends in these industries where they are, that will be told, someone comes in with a cold, recommend our vitamin, and we'll look after you. So they're getting all kind of kickbacks from that. So I think that, perhaps that's the case in that situation.
Yes.
I mean, in Australia, obviously, it's a bit more tightly regulated, but...
Although
it probably still happens.
Yeah. It's just a bit more under the table sort of gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks again for joining me, Alex.
Not a problem, David. Pleasure as always.
You can follow and get in touch with us on Twitter at Tangential Soup, and you can find this week's show notes for more information about today's topics at tsp.fm/37. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider sharing it with anyone you think might also, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Ciao.